latte.
Chocolate latte. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well,
Good.
yeah, it's fucking awesome. Dude, who's the good? They started following me.
That's me.
That's you? Okay.
True and Good Co.
Nice.
Yeah, True and Good Co. It's like Oliver and I had True Tattoo together, and while we had True, I started a charity for people get motorcycle accidents and can't work, called True South.
I've heard of that.
And then I did a project when NFTs came out. We did a project called True Collective.
I think I've heard of that too.
And then the powers that be squashed NFTs.
Oh,
now they're called digital memes or meme coins. But anyways, yeah, so it was just appropriate.
You see why I got the chair like this?
Yeah, I get it.
Because you can lean on it.
I'm gonna lean on it. All right, here we go.
Here we go.
So, so True and Good Co. was just like I actually came up with it in 2016 on an airplane, flying out to see my friend Greg Christian. And I wrote out a little business plan in my notebook. And I just never felt I was ready to push it or release it until last winter. I started selling hats to friends out of the trunk of my car.
Yeah.
And I was able, we just released the website recently.
Yeah, I saw the page. All the content looks, on point. You know, obviously you having a camera background, you know how to like get it, and your wife's a amazing photographer as well.
My wife, I've given her the creative reins on the rollout of the marketing. I do all the in-story stories, and I shoot constantly. And I've been shooting for the last 2 years with friends in the hats, and so I've got content like crazy. But we're just rolling out drops right now.
So what's the? Is it going to start with the hats for now?
Just hats for now. It's a lifestyle brand. I mean, it's true and good. You know, like everything that I feel like I've done up to this point has been true and has been good. You know, I feel like those two words just kind of define lifestyle to me and my friends. Like, it's even funny when I see like what friend will pick like a True hat or the Good, because this one says Good. But you know, it's just, I don't know. You just you think of things and run with them. Sometimes they take and sometimes they don't. But I really believe in
that's
this
a good
brand.
idea. I think whenever I want to start something, I overthink it so much that it never really leaves, my head or even a piece of paper.
That's where it stayed in a notebook for so long, and I would talk about it. Basically, the idea is to do artist collaborations. So the first two, the Good hat and the True design, I did with my friend Ridge Young. He owns a shop in Tucson called Liberty House Tattoo. And we do a bunch of stuff together. And I was like, man, I have these ideas. And he's like, oh, I'll do it. And it just, the principle of True and Good Co. is to do artist collaborations with friends. So I've got a laundry list of friends who I'm ready to do it with. But it's just like one of those things that to actually make something come to fruition from your head to actualization it's a step. That inner voice will talk you out of a lot of stuff.
I'm conflicted with it because I feel like it does talk me out of some stuff that I'm glad I was talked out of. But I always looked at it like I overthink it to almost work out every potential problem. But I know that's not the best way to go about some things. Sometimes you have to just send it out there and see what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I guess the way that I'm just wired is just, I'm a control freak is basically what it is. You know what I'm saying? But I feel that the tension of that is starting to kind of chip away, and I'm starting to, be more accepting of outside influence to anything I do. Yeah. It's just growing up in being somewhat of an artist, with the paint world and stuff. It's like I was forced to have to do everything myself, and so I was always scared to do things with people. Yeah. Back in the day in the custom paint world, it was cutthroat.
Oh yeah.
You in Dallas, you're not going to find a pinstriper to come do pinstriping for you or airbrush to do airbrush for you. It's like they all have their teams, and if you're not doing a paint job with the team, then you're off the table. So you have to learn to do it all yourself. And then now the world is completely opposite, where everybody works for everybody, and I'm just still sitting over here in my corner like, I'll just do it all myself. You know what I mean?
I mean, you've got a lot of good tricks in your bag.
Master? No, it's the jack of all, master of
Jack
none.
of all trades, master of none. I think I can get on some of those tips. I think that it's also when Instagram came out,
Yeah.
2011. I called a few friends. I signed Oliver up for Instagram. We got his account going, and I was like, "This is gonna change everything," and it did, and it has, and it's.
What did it do for the tattoo world?
Everything.
I mean, I feel like tattooists and photographers were the first two genres to benefit the most from Instagram.
I think so. I mean, tattoos are always going to perform well on Instagram compared to, say, if you're just a person and you want to put up your account. Like, people want to see art. And even people ripping the same images and retranslating them are going to be totally different. Yeah. So I think that for artists, for graphic artists, I think Instagram was the best thing to come out in terms of social media. Now, there's been many evolutions. Obviously, it's turned into different things, but I think that Instagram is still a viable tool for artists and creatives. I think, artists and creatives are always going to change, and the real ones are going to make it through every peak and valley. Yeah.
What I'm kind of wondering, because I've kind of forgotten this myself, I think it was localized before, right? So how was it marketing tattoo and all this subculture, this lowbrow art culture prior to Instagram? I mean, because I don't remember Facebook having a huge presence of that.
When we were doing,
like your 2000s.
MySpace. Let's go back to MySpace.
Okay.
When I was doing MySpace, I started working for Kat. Oliver and I were friends. I was tour managing bands, but I started working for Kat, and she had 1 million followers on MySpace. Yeah. And we had to hire somebody just to answer all her messages. For real? Because she wanted every single message answered. And there was literally, we called her MySpace Amy, and she worked for 14 hours a day. Damn. Because of the way that in order to answer messages and go back without, she would have to back scroll, or not scroll at the time, but back it on the website, and to get to the next person and to keep them in order. It was like a chore. But I think at that point, people already wanted to see tattoos, and people were obviously, like a female tattooer at that time had, like you said, before, say, social media, I doubt if anybody in the regular population knew that there were female tattooers for the most part. Yeah. Unless you read tattoo books, and that was the medium for tattooers having reference and knowing about,
Well, it seemed like the magazine tattoo, the world of magazines and tattoos that I grew up in, because my uncle had a tattoo shop in the 90s, right? And so we had all the, I forget what they were called now, but like Tattooer and, whatever. They looked like Easy Rider magazines, but they were tattooers.
Well, Easy Rider would have been pretty much like the Biker Outlaw magazines and Easy Rider magazines were the ones that had tattoos first. That's where you would have to go to see tattoos. And it was from that culture, that print, that Tattoo International, you've heard Jonathan Shaw, he was the editor, and really brought kind of the tattoo world into the magazine world that was already kind of established. But that's the first time that I think tattoo, other than outlaw biker magazines, that's where you started to see real tattoos happen. Real artists being interviewed. They opened with Ink Slinger's Ball.
I remember that.
And that did a lot. Johnny Depp was there. There was so many things that launched that into the public eye and really started to get replicated. I think that the original social media would have been those magazines, I think.
Because, I watched this. I feel like I watched it on the outside, not being involved in the tattoo industry. It felt like when the TV shows came out, when it was Miami Ink and then everything that spun off from that, I believe, I felt like it opened the door for people that were artists in other mediums to flood into tattooing.
Of course.
And it brought, it seems like it brought the level of tattooing up quite a bit as far as how many people there were that were rad at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, social media, and it affects everything, and it has. And I feel like the ones that got into it, that like tattooing, I think has been like resistant to change, right?
Yeah.
So like even now, like the algorithm is different in social media.
Yeah.
But tattoos, I think, are always going to perform well. So I think it made it even easier for tattooers not to change with the algorithm. It's taken, now people are starting to do videos and whatnot. But like forever and a day, you just had to put up a picture of your tattoo, and if you were a great tattooer, all of a sudden your whole page is curated to the same style of tattoo, and everybody thinks you're great, and it's awesome. And that's where I think the explosion went. TV hit right at the time that MySpace, like this is 2003 when Miami Ink comes out, and those shows. And I think you're right, social media and TV had a play there together, and it pushed the envelope for a lot of things in different ways.
Yeah, because I felt like, of course there had been like tattooists, and I couldn't name them, but I remember there were some black and gray guys that were killing it in the 90s and going into the 2000s. And then when you get like Nico Hurtado and guys like that come in and start bringing this vibrant color, realism, almost looking thing to it. And then since then, I've lost track of all of it, but it just seems like the things that I've seen happen in skin now it's just mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing. I think also, you have to look into how tattoos age to see what styles will stand the test of time. I think tattoos are everywhere. It's a $5 billion industry now.
Damn.
Just the infrastructure, and that doesn't include the artists or the tattooers. That's the infrastructure
That's
around tattooing.
Yeah, all the supplies and things like that.
Supplies, you name it. And that shift, just the supplies is another thing. And you have COVID happening. When COVID happened, there were a bunch of people that had nothing to do, and all of a sudden you can order supplies on Amazon, and all of a sudden you can watch a YouTube video, and that spawned a whole new wave of tattooers.
Because when I apprenticed in 2006 or 7, I can't remember. I did it for like 6 months, realized I sucked at it, and apologize to anybody out there that got something from me. I just, I had a hard time adjusting machines and knowing, like I just didn't have enough seat time.
See,
right?
I think that's what, so now it's just plug and play. You don't have to adjust machines. You don't have to have, tattoo machines for 100 years. You had to buy it from somebody that knew how to be a machinist or make a tattoo machine so that you could work.
I had Mickey Thompson's, MTs, I think. Mickey Thompson, mm-hmm. Is that what it was? Like he makes tires too or some shit like that.
Mickey Sharps. Mickey Thompson makes tires.
Yeah, so it's Mickey Sharp?
Yeah, Mickey Sharp.
So I had a liner and a shader, and that's all I had. But basically, some skin, it would be perfect. And then other skin, I didn't know how to adjust. And I wasn't familiar enough with each different type of skin to know how I need to kind of go about it. You know what I mean?
I would think like for a guy that's mechanical like you'd have figured it out if you had the right mentor.
It's just different. It's just different when you're doing it on somebody's skin, and there wasn't a bunch of other options of practice back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that the people are also willing to get bad tattoos today. I think with the surgence of new tattooers. So, I mean, no doubt TV changed everything for tattooing.
Yeah.
And along with it, social media was right there to play a role in that explosion. And, everybody, I think also you have to look at when the smartphone came into play, because Oliver and I were making videos and doing really funny stuff with Vans releases before everybody had the ability to watch something on their phone.
Yeah.
You would have to sit at a computer. So like the people that were there just taking in life and sitting at a computer could watch stuff. But now, once the smartphone came about, everybody's got it in their hand. Those evolutions have changed every industry, but tattooing especially. Motorcycles too, you see it. Like the explosion of culture between, if you talk to people in 2015 about chopper culture, not as highlighted as it is now.
Yeah.
It's exploded. Every company in the motorcycle world realizes that the chopper kids are chopper enthusiasts or motorcycle enthusiasts and motorcycle riders. All of it has been thrown into a pot now, and it's bigger than ever.
Exactly. Yeah. Just keeping an eye on that. I feel like that as also there's something societal. I think it became where tattoos became much more accepted, across the board, and so it opened the floodgates for more people to get them.
I think TV does that. Once something goes from underground to being in every person's living room on a TV, that changes everything. The acceptance, the conversations. Just when something gets on TV, whether you like it or not, somebody's talking about it, so you have to address it, so to speak. So it's like once something gets on TV, it's part of pop culture.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
You're comfortable at home watching now, and it's in your living room. It's a lot more acceptable to absorb it than out on the street in a conversation. And once it becomes normalized within your living room or your home, then it's normalized for the world. And then people are curious. So now people with tattoos get approached and asked about things. There was an evolution of that. Now, maybe you don't have to get approached, or somebody might know more about it because their smartphone has taught them everything they need to know, and their TV has reinforced that. I don't know. It's a wild cycle.
I feel like you had mentioned like people used to watch these type of stuff, the videos or whatever the case, like the things you and Oliver were making like on the computer, whether it was through blogs or something like that. And I feel like that was like prime time because you weren't inundated with a bunch of kind of silly stuff on your phone. You made a conscious choice to sit down at a computer or laptop and watch something or read something.
Well, I think the energy put into developing those at that time too made it to where I think we were putting out relevant stuff, but I don't think the audience was that huge yet. But people that were watching it and had access to it, they did it. You are taking the time. You're sitting down. You're there. I think it's all changed. It's all, now you need 15 seconds of something to become an expert on Instagram. to learn something, you get 15 seconds and you know it. Like that side trail, but I think that's another interesting conversation. It's like everybody's an expert now. Yeah. Everybody knows everything. And then they've heard it, and what they're going to talk about, they probably got targeted on their social media platform to interject into somebody else's brain.
Yeah, I feel that as I've kind of like started to dip my toe into the world of the chopper stuff, like the vintage chopper, the stuff that's kind of 100% the tried and true thing that seems to not go away. You know what I mean? In the motorcycle scenes and styles, I've taken an approach of just trying to be a student in it. Even though some of the people I'm talking to or that I'm looking for some information, and they haven't been doing this as long as I have. But I've been in another genre, another segment of it. And, rather than come in and flex my muscle of like, I've done this for 20 years and I'm this guy. It's like, man, I find that being a student or finding an opportunity to be a student is a much better place than being a teacher.
Yeah.
It's
for
like,
sure.
Especially this day and age. I mean, you see it on social media. Everybody wants to teach. You see it in the comments. They want to, like you just said, splurt out what they know. Even though 9 times out of 10, they haven't done enough research or they haven't actually lived it or been about it. They heard it on a 15-second reel. Yeah. They're regurgitating it. It's just that. But as you just said a while ago, these waves of society and the way that we communicate and interact are going to change and evolve. It's kind of hard to pinpoint where social media is going to evolve to now, because I would have not have thought it was going to be this 5 years ago, 10 years ago. You know what I mean? I hate it and I love it.
I was thinking about this today with AI. Do you use AI?
I'm starting to find through conversations with people, especially when I was in Phoenix, I was talking to some other painter friends of mine. They showed me some ways they use it. And so I see the value in it, but I don't, how do you word it? Like, I see artists using it to help with certain aspects of their creativity, but it's not making the art for them.
that's how I feel in a lot of ways. I think if you know something about something, you can use it as a tool and a resource. I think that people's conversations, though, everybody's just going to know everything. Yeah. And if they don't, the conversations are going to go back. I mean, we already use Google to find stuff, right? Yeah. Research. It's just one less cog in the, like, you're not reading it now. You can talk it in, and it'll give it back to you without having to search through. But really, that's all it's doing is just searching. It's
doing the search for you.
Yeah, it's doing the search for you.
On that note, I noticed this whenever I really, really dove into photography about almost 10 years ago now, as crazy as that sounds. I used YouTube to learn a lot of the basics and learn a lot of the things and understand how to get certain types of looks, and there's just so much available information on there. But then there would be a time where instead of walking out at golden hour or waking up early to go get some shots or to go do the actual thing, I found myself just absorbing the information and never putting it into practice. And I think that's the one thing that is maybe a downside to a lot of people when it comes to being creative, making art, building bikes, riding bikes, doing stuff, is that they consume so much and it makes an expectation, right? And then when they try it, it might not, they don't have the muscle memory, they don't have the skill, they don't have that, they just have the knowledge. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like there's gotta be a balance of putting the phone down, doing and applying the shit you've been learning, and then making those mistakes and seeing what they feel like. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, all things go back to actual, like, praxis, like you're actually doing something. So that you can read up on riding a motorcycle, but you're not going to feel it until you feel it. Exactly. So you really got to get in there and be a part of that, I think. Yeah. To move past that. And I think I think the hard part today is the reality between how much time you're going to spend in your phone learning, some would say useless information, versus the actual time that you're out in the world feeling things and living. And I think as a photographer, there's a hard balance, because for me, I want to take pictures of things in the world, like what I see, and I'm always shooting. And sometimes it's hard to go, okay, turn off that switch and just experience something, especially when you're doing cool stuff all the time, because you want to be taking the pictures that, for me, nobody's ever going to see. So, like, I think that, but you think that you're going to deliver something. And I think for me, that's the hard part, because we're getting sucked into our phones so much. And I think that's the great part about a motorcycle. The best part about riding a motorcycle is riding a motorcycle. Yeah. Well, some would say, choppers would say, hey, fixing a motorcycle is the best thing about riding a motorcycle. But riding a motorcycle, I think, is the point of all of it.
Yeah. You know what's wild is I found myself over the last, like, maybe that I've actually noticed it and been aware of it, maybe the last, like, 2 months. I've been I would be procrastinating something around the shop or something around the house, and then I just end up being on my phone and in reels, right? But it's like, I'm not looking at anything I wanted to look at. I'm just kind of like absorbing. Some of it's funny, some of it's this, some of it's that. And I find myself that, like, it's easy to get sucked into it and you feel like you're passing time, like maybe you're bored or something. But when I jumped on my bike and I'm running across I-10 and, just out there in the middle of nowhere, I start to fucking, like, use my head, my brain a little bit more. And I'm like, shit's firing and ideas are coming in. And I want to go home and do this, or I want to try to do this out here. It's almost like the phone was dumbing me down to where I was running away from using my brain. Obviously when I'm having to airbrush a picture on a helmet or do graphics or solve a problem, that requires, like, attention and use of, like, brain power. And I found myself kind of avoiding anything like that, not wanting to draw, not wanting to work on videos or edit photos, just fucking scroll. And I'm the one that's been talking shit about it for like 5 years, so I got fucking got, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're in it. Yeah, my wife all the time tells me I'm on my phone all the time. And in my head, I'm not, but I guess I am. I think we all are. Like, literally, like, I'm guilty of it too. Like, I'm going to go to the grocery store. Oh, I'm going to wait in the line for 5 minutes. Like, you can just get on your phone. Fortunately for me, I take my 3-year-old son to the grocery store. So I'm like all hands on deck all the time now. So I don't have time to pull out my phone. But it's, it is easy to take, like, now nobody's ever bored, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that boredom was actually something that was good for all of us. Call it meditation or whatever.
100%. Yeah, that's a good point.
I think that we're here, we're doing it. You know, you have kids, I have kids. What's the next generation going to be like? Like you said, what's the next generation of social media going to be like?
Yeah.
Hopefully the real world, like, praxis things, like doing real things, true, good, whatever. You know, like, I think doing life with people and breaking bread and sharing stories and sitting around a campfire, all those things are the things that are the most precious things in life, you know, spending that actual time with people.
Yeah. Yeah, I felt like, I had such an amazing time in Phoenix, just hanging out with the homie, Tyler. He's 805 guy out there. And then seeing all the shops and going to dinner with everybody and hanging out, like, it really brought a sense of, I feel like maybe I've been a little isolated. Even though I have my bike night in Dallas and we go do our things, I feel like I just haven't been, just embracing that shit.
Well, I mean, you've been doing it. Yeah, I saw you at Harley Homecoming.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been moving around.
Mama Tried.
Mama Tried. Sorry, Harley Homecoming. Yeah, Mama Tried. I think getting out there and especially in your industry.
Yeah.
Like, getting out there and rubbing shoulders with the people that are the creators and the doers, that's where so many beautiful things can happen. That's where collaborations happen. I think that's where you as a creative can really start to expand your own creative minds, because now you're not just relying on a pad of paper that's blank staring back at you. You're relying on problems that other people have solved. And I've always said it, like, the best artists in the world are the ones that have the biggest bag of tricks. And it goes back to what you were saying. Having a big bag of tricks means you had to actually be the student. You had to sit back and learn something that you already didn't know. To get that trick, like Tony Hawk didn't just come out and invent every trick in the book. He had other skateboarders around him to push him. He had other things, and now there's so many tricks out there. You would have to go and learn them from other people. And I think, while the YouTube provides that for a lot of people, but to do something, you got to repeat it a lot, and to do something well. And I think going out there now, I think getting to go to motorcycle shows, it's cool to see, because in the tattoo world, tattoo conventions have been going strong since the 70s. That was the meetup. That's where they could talk. That's where their like-mindedness. Now, and like I said, post 2015, something in the water. When did Born Free start? Do you know what year?
08 or 9.
Okay, so 08 or 9. So they've been doing it over 15 years, almost 20 years.
16 years now.
Yeah, so they're almost at 20 years. So, like, that was like the show. There was a couple other shows in the country. Now there's a show in every city, like, probably conflicting with each other.
100%.
On any given weekend. And that's just an opportunity for the industry to grow, for people who are really doing it to one, impart that knowledge to other people, and to grow. So that, I think there's a positive in that. Some people will say, there's always going to be haters no matter what. But if you're out there doing it and you're involved in it, that's a thing. Like, it's awesome. It gets you out of the phone, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool to see the expansion of what I think I've been blessed to do. I mean, I started touring in 2003. I've been now I pretty much don't travel, and I'm still traveling once a month. So
what was it like back in 2003? Like, what was the jump off?
I started touring with a band called Matchbook Romance. I went out as their guitar tech, and like 2 shows into it, I was like, guys, you got to get rid of your tour manager. He sucks. And we sent him on a bus back to California.
Damn.
And I took over as their guitar tech and their tour manager, and that was it. We were off to the races. Like that was the prime time for Warped Tour. Like Warped Tour really, like, I think solidified the next 20 years of my life as far as friendships, relationships, touring, traveling, tattoos. Like I met Oliver in 2003.
Yeah.
So I started, like, I went from a tattoo enthusiast to full on baptized in it, I guess, you know. And the tattoo world and the music world and the motorcycle world all just kind of fell together for me.
Yep.
Like, for me, I started riding in 2007. I bought a 2007 Triumph Scrambler and was like, this is the greatest thing ever, until I rode a Harley and then realized what riding a real motorcycle was like. So, and but it opened a whole nother world. Like tattoos, music, motorcycles, they all just, that's the ticket as far as awesome things.
You know, things like the Vans Warped Tour, like, do you think traveling, things like that are a thing of the past? Because I haven't seen much of that type of stuff.
I don't know how they're rebranding the Warped Tour. Definitely no travel like it was before, like getting out there and just being able to set up in a parking lot and charge, you know, $25, $30 a ticket is not happening anymore, because gas is super expensive, food is super expensive, paying people is super expensive. So it like has, $100. But I think like there's a lot of bands out there that they're still touring. It's just, I don't know at the scale that Warped Tour is. I just don't know that you can do that. I'm going to eat my words, but
the Warped Tour
they're coming back with it.
They are?
And the only way for those tours to survive other than the ticket sales is the sponsors. So the sponsors are going to have to elevate the financial burdens, I guess, or alleviate.
And I hope that they do, because as we all know, like, kind of taking it back a little bit to the same conversation we were having, for a sponsor, the same amount of money they can put into like an event which doesn't have a analytic to their ROI, you know what I'm saying? The same way that a social media boosted post or campaign or something would be. It's like, it makes more sense for a lot of brands to go that direction and with social media campaigns of one thing over another, but they're taking away that in-person kind of experience. And then I think that if we live in a world where you don't get to go out and experience these things, then they do truly go away. I mean, how many people are going to want to, this might be a stretch, but how many people are going to want to learn how to play musical instruments when there's a button on your keyboard that has those sounds and they can just make their music that way? But when you see a band up there playing in person, you see someone on a half pipe doing the trick in person, and you take that around the country where that's not like in their face all the time, I'm sure a lot of people walked into those places and go, I want a tattoo, I want to skate, I want to fucking be in a band.
I mean, but I don't think that system is totally defunct. I think like you still have motocross. You still have events where they're going from city to city. You still have tattoo conventions. But and tattoo conventions. I think you're right on the scale. Like, I just think that everything is so different now. I mean, the music industry is completely different now than it was in 2003. I mean, the music industry is almost non-existent. Streaming is not profitable at the level that selling CDs was back, 20 years ago. So the industry has changed. So the infrastructure on the whole thing, I mean, creative artists who books all these bands, like those agencies are now, they've got the music industry and the movie industry completely being ripped apart. They're having to reinvent themselves. They're investing now in just wealthy people, like basically like portfolios, watching over people's like lives that have, maybe they have social media too. Like it's crazy.
Like watching like the Kardashians and shit like that.
But just people who just have an influx of money, they're starting to manage their accounts. It's interesting. All the infrastructure for entertainment and creatives is totally changed. And I think it does put power back in the individual's hands.
It puts power, but the money still comes from advertising. I mean, that's where almost all money that supports the cultures of creativeness, whether it's movies, music, like all these things, YouTube. It's advertisement, Without advertisement, you don't have TV channels. You know what I'm saying? You don't have a lot of shit. I mean, the streaming stuff makes sense when you pay said amount of dollars and so many people do it. It gives them the money to pay for the rights for this show for a certain amount of time or produce their own content. But even over time, as the rising costs, I mean, how many of us used to pay $7 a month for Netflix, and now it's like $20-something bucks? Or
how much is Netflix now? I have to look at that. I mean, all of these things are connected. It's so crazy that we're having this conversation because, like, Netflix and YouTube, like, YouTube teaches everybody everything, right?
Yeah.
So now everybody is learning and can do everything, so it puts it in your hands. Netflix is now the main studio.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they're producing so much stuff. They basically they would say in LA that they're saving the movie industry in LA.
Yeah.
But they're so big and their platforms are so different than the way Hollywood and the creation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything's changing. So everything's just kind of like spinning into each other, it feels like.
Yeah, like you said a while ago, it does put a lot of control back into the hands of, some of the creatives, but finding a way to make it profitable. Like, a lot of music, unless you're a big name, a Deftones or a fucking Kanye or wherever the hell it is, you're not really releasing albums anymore. You're releasing, EPs or, a couple little songs.
Yeah, I mean, the budgets have been cut everywhere because the major labels aren't paying for those. They are paying for certain amounts, but everybody's had to streamline but also, like, the person who is an individual is starting to compete where other times they wouldn't, because if you're great at something, the chances of discovery are pretty big.
Yeah. What I will say, though, in a way of like you said earlier, that social media is still, it's still good. It still provides the ability to connect and tool, just like AI, right? But if I could complain about one thing, it would be the fact that algorithms, or at least the way the algorithm is curated on Instagram, I feel like it's not for individual expression. It's more for conformity, Like, it seems to want you to fit in. It's like, if you use this trending song, we're gonna put you higher in the
100%.
algorithm. So it's like it's taking away the ability to just be unique and different.
But on a flip side, to play a different coin, how long ago were you putting your favorite song that was trending, or any song, on a video before all this technology sped up and put it in the hands of every single person on the planet? So you weren't even there were a few creatives putting their favorite video to their favorite song now every single person can do that. So it's like a flip side. Like, it's like you have access to all this stuff. It's like, what kind of salad can you throw together for the world?
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I was getting at, is you could throw it together and you could make, like I tend to, the palette of music I like and listen to is what I'm going to use for my content, right?
Of course you should. On brand, as they would say.
Exactly. And so, I mean, the argument, or the devil's advocate could be, well, you're just on brand and it's not fucking popular anymore, bud. Like, you're fading away. And that's fine, but what I'm kind of saying is that, like, you see these, like, trends, like, let's do this because everybody's doing it. And then, I mean, that's fine on a place like TikTok where you're, like, you want to be into that world, but Instagram was never that way. And I mean, it starts to become.
I think I hit this I have this conversation every single day with tattooers, with people in the motorcycle industry, really everybody that is an entrepreneur or that is trying to drive their business. They're trying to figure out, how do I stay genuine and authentic while still putting out my voice into the world with the tools that we have. I think that Instagram, if you have something that you want to show the world, I think that social media gives you that platform, and it's cool. And it's a free tool at the end of the day. Now, all the arguments and all the things that come after that, like, is it shaping you? Is it doing blah, blah, blah? Well, of course. Well, we're here, and everybody's on there. And now you're competing or you're just putting out there what you want to put out there.
Yeah.
I think that you weren't putting that out there 10 years ago. 15 years ago. It was so simple. And I think people want to return to the simplicity of things. And it's definitely not going to happen. Not now. There's too many things to think about every day. And social media has told you what to think about. So I think as an individual, if your drive, it goes back to drive too. If your drive is high and you can stay positive and not get into your head about, oh, well, the young kids are doing it better, or everybody else is just a faker, that negative voice in your head will trap you. What's up? So, Nate Dogg.
How's it going?
What's happening?
You walk in on a nice podcast.
Oh, right on.
How are you, Nate? This is Jace.
What are we doing?
Nate, we're having a conversation that Nate and I have often, and it goes back to that. It's like everybody has access to everything now. So what's going to happen? Where's this world going to land? How are we going to land?
Yeah, it's difficult to. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's easier to complain than it is to objectively look at something and figure out a way around it, or a way through it, or a way with it. And sometimes I think that's where, like, going out and searching, and maybe soul searching, if you will, trying to find a way some other creatives have found a path through it, and see if that, method works for you. See if there's, some similarities. Go back to being a student, like we were talking about earlier, and figure out how to use the tools available to reinvent how you put it out to the world. And that's kind of in my head. I know to do that, but it's so fucking easy to complain. You know what I mean? It's so easy.
I think it's definitely easy to go to the negative side of things. And I think that if you're interested in something and you love something, then you by nature become a student. And I think that's the positive side. You can actually learn a bunch of stuff. I just don't. It's.
Well, for instance, like what I kind of do, like I'm kind of exposing culture to an audience in a sense. Maybe I wouldn't quite call my brand a lifestyle brand. Maybe showing lifestyles or a way people can live, whether it's through the podcast or showing people traveling on motorcycles, using skills in art to kind of help do these things. So it's more about just exposing or showing people the way, I figured out how to do these things, you know what I mean? And expose them to other people that are, in different spaces and sharing conversations and whatnot. So finding ways to do that uniquely and interesting and use it as a way to inspire people is kind of like the point. But then again, a lot of what I do is paid for by advertisement. So there's an aspect of needing to still kind of influence people. Mm-hmm. These are the helmets that I use. These are the phone mount that I use. This is the setup bags, the oil, the tires, like these kind of things help keep the motorcycle going down the road and the conversations happening. And you don't want to be just gross with your promotion of these products, but you want to be authentic with it, And there's just a lot of things that I guess as an overthinker, like I established earlier, is that I'm thinking about, oh, that's cheesy. And I got a handful of homies that I really respect in different walks of life that I always think if I do some cringy ass shit on the internet, I just see their head just shaking at me in the back of my head, like, you sell out, you motherfucker, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's a hard line to walk. I think it's, again, it goes back to your own authenticity in the conversations. Because I think that having something paid for by an advertiser doesn't make you inauthentic. And in fact, as a creative, you want that. And you have to decide for yourself, what you're pushing, is it
Yeah.
on brand for what you're pushing?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if it's really just for yourself, you're not putting it out there on social media.
Yeah, true.
Like, I mean, or, you know, and again, it goes back to teachers and students. Like, are you trying to teach everybody? Are you trying to show, are you really there? That's a good question. Or are you the student that's learning and trying to put a light on those that are teaching and those kind of things? So, you know, you have to walk that line, but we're all here doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
We're in LA right now. I think we have one of the greatest tattooers to ever come out of LA sitting over here and chilling, Nate Fierro, one of the great Los Angelino born skateboarders.
Nice.
He's a product of us. We should mic him up and sit down and talk to him. that conversation, I think the depth of the conversation Nate would throw into it would add some layers to our whole conversation today. But I think, yeah, again, it's like we all love certain things, right? We love, for me, my family, my wife, my kids, and what made us into who we are today are the things we love, like motorcycle riding, skateboarding, tattoos, music. Those are the things that make me up and that interest me.
Yeah.
And those are the things that I've run really hard at. I've been really blessed to be able to kind of have a career within those four constructs. And I've had to reinvent myself, and as my colleagues have had to reinvent themselves over and over and over again in pop culture to stay relevant to culture.
Yeah.
It just so happens that the things that we were doing were already relevant to culture, but like redefining yourself is just always going to happen, you know?
Yeah.
I think that, and companies are very interested in all those things.
Do you think that like the path of redefining yourself, because I do agree with that and I've done it multiple times in my life, but with the added layers of the social presence of redefining yourself, like you're also thinking like, well, I don't like to talk in these terms, but just for the sake of like understanding what I'm talking about, we all have somewhat of an audience, you know. I don't like to say followers, just people that think whatever I'm doing is rad enough to make it a possibility that I would come across their feed, right? But when you know that you have set amount of people that fuck with your brand, right? And then you're thinking like, I'm going to reinvent myself, but if you're doing it with them in mind, are you doing it? Are you staying true to yourself? Or are you doing what you think an audience would want from you? You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's a age-old question, but goes back to authenticity. You have to check in. Do you check in with yourself? Like, who do you check in with? Like, what defines those questions that you're gonna ask? And I think, you know, from like, who's the creator of all those things? Like, you know, you decide. So that's a deeper, like, I think that's a deep question. But yeah, it affects. I think the small voice in your head that like is the guy that's telling you, oh, that's stupid or that's dumb or that's not cool. You're always gonna have that. That's like part of your makeup. You know, you're gonna have to. You have to go to different places to reinvent yourself, because all those memories and all those decisions are gonna push you. And I think the voices in your head that are loudest, hopefully you've got good people in your corner. Mm-hmm. Hopefully you don't have just negatives in your head all the time, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean,
you rode an Indian.
To bring that shit up, dude. I did that to get Harley to fucking keep looking at me, man. Like, you better hang out with me. I'm gonna go over here. They called my bluff. It goes back like what I feel like I've been in a redefining time period, right? As I said, got getting into choppers more so and wanting to kind of walk that path and feel these motorcycles and feel deeper into the culture of it and behind it. I mean, that's what's kind of led me to being here with you through mutual friends and other things like that. I mean, you helped me out a lot last year, put me in contact with Frank and, Biker Bandit and all that kind of stuff. I didn't get a chance to do a podcast with him, but we're in contact, which is good. But finding all these things and being interested in another area of motorcycles that I'm not familiar with is kind of a way to get back to being a student. It's almost like when you get so good, not so good, but just so...
When you get so good at being good.
You just get so ingrained into a part of it that you don't feel like anything's new anymore.
Yeah.
And then when it's not new, it gets mundane. And like, I need a spice. I need a challenge. I need new...
You need to go hike, man.
In Dallas? You know where I live, bro.
White Rock Lake.
Bro, we have
you have to ride a motorcycle. You go to Flagpole Hill, which I entrusted to all my friends in Dallas as the area to go.
We hit Jefferson, man.
Jefferson.
We've been like the last couple Sundays, me and all the homies that are picking up cameras too. Now we'll go walk up and down Jefferson and snap shots of the lowrider scene. And like right now, our bike night is full of dudes with cameras now. It's like
good.
Which
I think
is dope.
everybody's picking up a camera now. That's good. I think I think that the Instagram or social media has given people the ability to pick up like a camera and do things, and I think everybody should pick up a camera because you're still going to see a different thing than like I shoot events where there's other photographers and we all have to deliver our photos, and I'm like, man, I was in the same room as them and they got that. Like how did they see that? And then I'm like, I look at my photos and I'm like, yeah, but they didn't get this. And I think that's a beautiful thing. If everybody had cameras and knew how to use them as a tool, like you'd see a lot of cool things in the world.
And
I think that's but that's the other side. Like everybody's got an iPhone or everybody's got an Android, so it's everybody can see. So it's like, what story are you gonna tell? And I think that's what gets the definition of your life is your story. So what story are you trying to tell? Like, and how are you going to tell that? And if you are with other creatives, and your story is going to be that much greater. Like if you're just standing by yourself all the time, your stories are probably going to be kind of one-sided. You know?
Well, that's kind of I think Audra's helping me out with this now, but I've been talking about putting on this, for lack of a better term, art show, but it's more photography based to kind of highlight a lot of the photographers that I know that I think are rad, give an opportunity for up and coming photographers to kind of showcase the work all around the motorcycle shit. I've been wanting to do it in Dallas, and I got it all planned out. I'm just waiting on the right venue. And I'm gonna bring some other artists in there, like Wes, and he does those wood cutouts and all kinds of cool stuff.
Cool.
But I've been trying to say for a long time that like when people consume photography on this like 6x7 or whatever it is, screen, it's like, oh yeah, it's a cool photo. But then like when you see it like the size of some of these prints that are in the bike shed here, or even like what you got up here, the Easy Rider shot, like those kind of things, seeing it in person outside your phone, I think is the real tactile experience. And how often, I mean, I've asked people this every once in a while. You probably are on the other side of this coin, but when's the last time you saw a photo, like a real photo, like 11 by 14? You know what I mean?
I mean, for me, every day. But
exactly.
I want that for the world. I want everybody to look at photographs by hand, and I think that you should. That's a good cross to land on. I think that people promoting that in and of itself is a very strong move. I mean, I want that. I'd love to. I've shown my photos in, a few great shows with some of the best photographers in the world, and I'm mind blown every time because everybody's so different. Every image, and you're picking one of like, I mean, how many photos do you have in your iCloud?
My Lightroom right now. Fuck, dude, I'm in like the 70,000, which is not a big number compared to like what a lot of people do, but I try to curate it. I'll go through and get rid of a lot of things that I'm just never gonna, just didn't miss shots. Like at the BRL race on Sunday, I probably snapped like 4,000 shots, you know?
Yeah.
Of the 4,000, maybe there's 1,000 in focus, in frame. And then of those, there's maybe, you know what I mean? It just narrows down to like, okay, I got 7 shots of this whole event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Ansel Adams said
Yeah.
the best way to be a good photographer is just to shoot.
Yep.
You know, I think that I'm that way too. I don't curate my stuff or edit all my stuff. I just leave it on a hard drive.
Yeah.
And then I pick a few, like you said, like a few frames.
Yeah, well, when I'm intentionally walking around and shooting and I have time to, you know, compose, then yeah, I pretty much keep all that. But like if I'm trying to pan a motorcycle going by and
that's a different photography.
I shoot the sky.
I've never gotten the live action hard fast shots down. For me, I'm definitely snapping pics of people that are just talking.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's a, you know, one of the things when I sat down with Kirpius last year, you know, he kind of really illuminated to me is that within a lot of people that shoot photography, sometimes it's about like what do you have access to in your life that nobody else really does.
Yeah.
And that's maybe the most unique thing that you can show the world that is going to be like, whether or not they're in love with the photo because they understand photography or not, they're still getting access to something from an angle that they don't see. I mean, you think of Esteban Oriol, like he started behind the stage with these bands. He was showing a perspective that the people on the other side of the stage didn't get.
Yeah.
And you look at like some of the guys that are well-known photographers in the motorcycle industry, a lot of them traveled on motorcycles. They showed
Michael,
like Michael Lichter, they're showing an in the moment, in it kind of perspective that is not accessible to most people.
Well, and that's where I stay. I mean, my favorite photographer is Merrick Morton, and anybody, do yourself a favor. You want to look at an accomplished and amazing photographer. He's probably shot the stills for every movie that you love.
For real.
But he started as the crime scene photographer for LAPD, and then his first movie he got colors.
Oh,
and then
shit.
from there, I mean, he did The Big Lebowski and every single film. It's insane. His IMDb is crazy, but as a photographer, like he has filmed. I mean, he shot at every single gang in LA since the 80s.
Damn.
Like, and to see that access, there is like he was doing that before it was cool. That's for sure. I mean, now. So I think, the access, that's the biggest point. Like, what story can you tell with what you have access to?
Yeah, and then, you know, in that process of telling that story and connections to people, you gain more and more access over in life to the point where you'll probably get to one point, if you are the photographer or videographer, this kind of applies to that too, that you'll get to tell stories that maybe most people won't get to, you know?
Access,
And, you know, the way I see it is, you know, when I do these podcasts, I get to sit in areas, I get to do things. I'm still pretty shy to pour out the camera, just like in the, you know, while everybody's talking and start snapping. There's still like a part of me that's like, oh, this isn't the spot. You know, this isn't the time. You know.
Oh, yeah,
but
that's every time. I would say like 60% of the time that I take my camera to a certain spot, I will shy away from pulling it out.
Yeah.
But you know, I think that too, like that's part of the beauty of being a photography is knowing when it's appropriate, like when you've been given that access to make that picture. Because you can make a moment really awkward for a lot of people by pulling out a camera.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that's part of like, for me, like I shoot tattooers nonstop.
Yeah.
Like nonstop. Like I'm shooting tattooers 5 days a week, and they all hate their photos, but that's because nobody wants to see themselves. But like I think I like, at least they're comfortable enough not to deviate from what they're doing when I'm shooting. And I like shooting my friends in settings, like people, you know, I just like to take photos in general. But I think when you get when your people around you are comfortable enough just to live their life and let you do your thing, and the snap is not at all going to be focused on, that's where you want to be. That's where, as a photographer, again, it goes back, like you said, the access. You've been given access, so everybody around you is comfortable. They feel safe, and that's when you get life's best moments, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, and so that's kind of where I've been. You know, like I said, being able to have these conversations and learn and kind of put myself in that student perspective or mindset. You know, you're listening to a photographer that you admire, or that you really dig their shit, and when they say those things, you're like, oh shit, like that makes sense. Yeah. You know, and there's been some other photographers. Brian Helm actually brought that to my attention once. He's the one that instilled in me the access concept. And then throughout my podcast I did with other photographers last year, I was like, what does he have access to? And then, you know, you'd find out, oh, he grew up, Curpius, all his homies from Chicago were these fucking dudes that had a fucking style, a vibe, right? And so when you're photographing guys that just get it and look the part, they live the part, their bikes are rad.
It's easy.
It's like it makes everything dope, you know. Like I always tell people, it's like I found it fairly easy to take a decent or a good picture of a really cool bike, or a really hot chick, or a really beautiful sunset. But then again, everybody right there with the camera phone or anything could probably get that same shot. So how do you make the mundane look cool or look interesting? Or how do you make that girl that's not got everything popping out of her shirt or her pants, or, you know, has the look? How do you show something in that? Which is something that, like, you know, Tim O'Keefe is one of my other favorite photographers, that I look at how he brings out certain things in certain people that he shoots, that you know what I mean? Yeah. Like more emotion out of it, you know? Yeah. So that's a deep conversation of like trying to understand that shit, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's trying to dissect it all and, like, you know, learn to see, you know what I mean? Yeah. You see that thing they've been doing on Instagram lately that's kind of, I've been getting tagged in a lot, where it'll be a huge image. Yeah. And then what the people see, but what the photographer sees. I thought that was a pretty cool little, like, snippet to show people, like, the art within the frame or in the scene, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah,
the art of the frame. That's the name of your art show.
Fuck nah. I want to call the art show Slow Season. I want to do it in the middle of winter.
There you go.
You know. So,
we don't have winters out here, so.
Yeah, dude, but y'all good. I've never really got to experience one of those, like, warehouse style parties that you know, like the Hellraiser event, that kind of vibe. Yeah. But man, I so badly want to bring something like that to Dallas.
Let's do it.
You know, I think it'd be so sick.
Oh, it's easy. It can be done so easily. You can do it, especially an art show. That is so easy.
Yeah, we're trying to find a warehouse right now in Dallas that can fit the vibe. And I have a couple sponsors that I can get to fund some of it, and then I kind of want a place that I can have complete control. Like, almost get the sponsors, and if I have to kind of front some money for the warehouse or whatever, cool. But I want to I want to light the place myself. I want to set up every little installation for every artist in their own way, and then find a way to bring just an element to it that just kind of like exposes that culture. Because I grew up doing paintings, like, you know, not necessarily fine art, but, you know, like the graffiti culture, and I was kind of in that world, not as a graffiti artist, but airbrushing and using different types of paints and things that I painted on to kind of go to these little Deep Ellum art shows, and like you're selling one-off pieces and shit. Yeah, it's $200. You know, like just trying to fucking make some money and shit. Yeah. I grew up in that stuff, and I miss it, because when I jumped into motorcycles, I fell in love with the road and that thing. But now I'm kind of like, I miss that little eclectic world of, like,
Dallas is a spot. I mean, you know, Oliver's done a lot in Dallas as far as art shows in the motorcycle community, and I think that Dallas can do it. Dallas is ready for it. They've been doing it a long time. Dallas is one of the greatest art museum cities in the world.
For real.
You know?
Nice. I need to go there.
We can do it in Waxahachie too. I got a place.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, man.
I mean, Waxahachie's a good place, you know.
What are they doing with the Oddfellows stuff downstairs? The building? I mean, you got the Heart and Hand down there.
We have the Heart and Hand. It's Oliver and I put a vintage / shop in it. There's a mini bikes there. I think there'll be a new invention of it at some point soon.
Yeah.
I think that the town wasn't ready for certain things when we had our creative vision. I think that we're gonna grow just fine with it.
Nice.
I mean, we've had that building since 1914, I believe, or 1911. I think is when the Oddfellows took over that building.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think that Waxahachie is growing so fast.
Yeah.
And I think all that culture, there's the ability to bring all of that.
The wife and I have been really leaning towards possibly when we do our barbershop / boutique for our shit. We've been really trying to like be aware of things that come available in Waxahachie, because my wife's she's been going to Bishop Arts in Dallas for the last 10 years. And she's like, I'd love to just be able to go down the street to work. You know what I mean?
Happen, Captain.
I think it'd be a dope spot to kind of do some shit out there.
Make it happen, Captain. I know some people.
Well, we're definitely going to talk. So how do you find yourself here at the Bike Shed running this tattoo shop and things like that?
Oh my. So I moved out here post-pandemic. A lot of things changed. My wife and I decided that I should definitely be in California to make it go, start our family. And I came out here, and my friend Luke Westman was like, hey, there's this new spot opening it up and they want me to tattoo there. You should come and hang out. And I came here and just launched their tattoo program. And so the paint shop is my shop. I'm here with some of the best artists in LA. And this place is cool. There's nothing like this in LA, and I don't think there's anything like this in the world. So, just by friendships, like you said, community. I think if you're hanging out with the right people, the right things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
And that's where I've always been a big proponent of the friends that you keep are the life that you're gonna keep.
Yeah.
So,
true and good.
Yeah, true and good. True and good peeps. So yeah, I'm here. I love it. I love LA. Downtown is an always changing thing. LA is an always changing thing, and I think culture gets a lot from LA.
It does. It definitely does. That's kind of like even between here and even Venice, when I'm here, I'm staying at. I kind of need it sometimes, because it's like we were saying earlier, like when I'm around a lot of creative things, even if it's just what's on the walls, or when you walk past a boutique kind of place, there's art in the way people set up their shops and their storefronts and stuff. And so being here, to me, it kind of revitalizes the creative energy, because it's something different. I'm a very visual learner. So when I see all these things, it kind of just embodies into me, and I go home very fucking invigorated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's the energy of LA. Like I started living in LA in 2003 and never left, And I think that the amount of creatives here, the amount of creative energy, the amount of artists that are constantly trying to push the envelope, all of that energy just never stops. And so I think for inspiration and building brands and building communities in the artistic realm, I think you have this melting pot that is like no other place in the world.
Yeah.
And I've always been able to take that and then take it back to Texas.
Yeah.
Or, like when I go to Texas, everything slows down a lot. And I think that's where I think the beauty of riding a motorcycle, when you're riding across the country from LA to Texas and back, like you have so much time to think and process, and being thrown into one environment, say LA, when you have time to go outside of that environment, you process the things inside of it. Just like being in Texas and you get outside of it. I think it's important to do those things, especially when you're trying to expand. Because when you're just taking it in every day, all day, it's just like, a smell that gets...
You get used to it. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to ask you about that I thought was super rad, and I've been seeing it pop up here and there. So when Oliver invited me to go watch the screening of not screening, he buy out the theater and we all went and watched fucking Pulp Fiction, which was dope because I never got to see that in a theater as a kid, right? So seeing it in theater was fucking awesome. But before that, they played the History of the 13 tattoo. What's the exact title of that?
The History of 13.
Okay, so and it was fucking crazy because I missed it. I never got to watch that, and then seeing, young Oliver, which was awesome. I mean, not that he's an old man looking now, but just seeing him like without the long hair and stuff, and then seeing you, and it was like, oh fuck, that's my dude. So, how was that? Like that experience, like being a part of that Guinness World Record shit, man? Because that seemed wild.
I mean, I could tell you a long story, I can tell you a short story, but yeah, always wild. I think, Oliver and I worked together for a long time. We have a tattoo shop in Utah together. So I've been running around with Oliver since 2003, and watching the Friday the 13th thing go in Dallas alone, like from not that, people, there were lulls. Now there's no lulls in Dallas. And when we bought True Tattoo and came out here and started doing the 24-hour Friday 13th thing, I think it elevated it to the rest of the world as well because it was coming out of LA. But I just step and repeated since I'd been there for so long in Dallas watching the progress. We were able to do that in LA, and that was a beautiful thing to me because LA is different than Dallas. Even the Friday 13th, same like small guidelines, but the way you experience it, like being in Hollywood and doing that, and like the last time we did it in Hollywood, we did like 642 tats, and that was a lot. Like literally, COVID started 2 days later, so it was like, and then we went out of business. So I think that for me, the 13, it's an ongoing evolution, but being there from the beginning has been pretty incredible. I mean, Oliver started doing the 24 hours in 2001. And I didn't come into Oliver's world till 2003. So there were like 2 years that I wasn't really there. But watching that progress, watching the evolution, watching the hundreds of thousands of tats go down in the last 20 years has been pretty crazy. I mean, it is an international tattoo holiday now.
That's wild, man.
So, and our roommate, Justin, who put that together, he's an amazing videographer, editor, musician. Like all of his bands have always been kind of, right there pushing the envelope. Just having Oliver and Justin and I in a room back then, like, what can we do to have fun? Like all those things created, I think, a lot of, the culture that is now. I don't want to say that like as a conceited thing, but we've been pushing culture for a long time, whether it's in the van space, in the motorcycle space, in the party space, in the tattoo space, just doing it and doing it and doing it bigger and bigger. And Oliver now, has so many things going on at all times.
Yeah, he's all over the place, and still putting on shows, Southern Throwdown, Elm Fest, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, getting to know him the last, we've known each other for many years now, but like having him on the podcast a couple times, and then we really got to talk quite a bit at the Beaver Bash we did, which is just a little chopper, invite only kind of thing. We stayed at the same house and chopped up around a fire for a while, and it was good to really get to know him, outside of knowing about him through, what the world provides, you know what I'm saying? So there's been this video going around on Facebook or whatever, like a reel almost about like his whole rise, and they were kind of making like the rise and fall of Oliver Peck. And it was funny because I got tagged in it a lot because they used like two of the pictures of like our podcast. Like, so one of them has our podcast logo behind it, and then the other one's me and him standing next to each other. And so I started getting tagged in that shit for a while. And it's bullshit. It's not true. It's like I don't know, it's a weird one. It's like it's saying what, like, Oliver Peck got famous for doing this, and he was married to this, and then had an alcohol problem, and I was like,
whoa,
come on, dog. Like, everybody knows that Oliver's sober and been sober for many years.
Yeah.
So it's like, it was horseshit, but it was just kind of funny.
Well,
couldn't imagine being
don't
that.
believe everything you see online. Yeah, I you know, I think that, yeah, he's created a lot in Dallas. It's amazing. It's wild, and a lot of people have benefited, and a lot of people's careers and lives have launched because of it. Whether I think the fame hasn't changed him.
No, he's still down
just the
there.
same, same as he's always been.
Yeah, that's something I think is really important, and something that I think is a byproduct of just being rad. Like, people, you know, I'd love to be able to help people's careers start in one form or fashion. You know what I mean?
So rad. Like, I think again, it goes back to it. Like, your biggest supporters are the people around you. Those are the people that you should look to for inspiration. Those are the people that should push past the negative voices in your head. Yeah, man, I obviously am doing different things now.
Yeah.
But, you know, Oliver and I did a lot of life together, and I learned a lot. And, you know, he's an amazing man, and his businesses are amazing. And
Yeah.
I think that there's a lot to be said, and people maybe don't realize how much culture he's really pushed out there. At least, you know, we've been doing it for a long time, and companies rally around that, and they use that, and I've watched that happen. You know?
Yeah. Are you going to be doing more of the stuff like you did at Mama Tried with the tat stuff?
So I run with Monster. Harley flew Luke out there, and I went with Luke to do that. We do that at Supercross, Motocross, X Games. We set up at multiple events together. We'll be at Harley Homecoming, and Monster is like one of the greatest companies in the world.
Yeah.
It's incredible what they do. They literally, they understand the culture that they're reaching out to, and they provide things for people that make that Monster family so tight.
Yeah.
And I love it. They're the first company that came knocking on our door to go do big and cool things, and they gave us a creative vision.
That's cool.
And we gave them creative visions, and that's what you want to do. It's all organic. It's all authentic.
Want to collaborate.
That's the way to go. Like, if you have a good program going on, like, the best thing to do is to do a program with somebody else that's got a good thing going on.
Yeah. Bringing more people together. Yeah, when I got home off my trip last year to a pallet of Monster, thanks to you, I was stoked, but I was also like, addiction is real. You know what I'm saying?
Addiction is real. Yeah, I think that's, when somebody gets a pallet of anything, it's like, I thought I liked something. Now I really gotta like it. Like, that's a lot, you know? Yeah,
I had probably February-ish, I tried to like chill out on it for a while. I think I went a week without doing one, because it was kind of is my morning routine. Peach Monster, and whether it's powdered sugar donuts. If I'm on the road, it's powdered sugar donuts.
They have a whole health line coming out, so you can check into that if you want. Like, I love Monster.
Yeah.
I was addicted to. I like their recovery. I'm not addicted to them now, but I like their recovery drinks.
Yeah, they had them at Born Free Texas, which was fire. You know what I'm saying? So, no, it's cool. Honestly, man, like, brands like Monster, I mean, what they do to help you could say the same about Red Bull, but, Monster too. Like,
Can't say anything good about Red Bull.
Come on. They're great second place, you know what I mean?
Very far second.
It's cool to see brands of that size and caliber lean into these subcultures, you know what I mean? And not just go straight celebrity, straight fucking Kardashian, straight, NFL, shit like
doers,
that. Yeah.
The real doers. I think I've met so many incredible athletes inside the Monster family that, it's like they've been doing it since they're just doing what they do.
Yeah.
I love that.
My homeboy's old lady, she was cutting down at, I guess Monster brought her out for X Games last summer.
Oh, cool.
And so they were cutting out in Ventura. She was like doing, I don't know whose hair she was cutting, but like they lean into like barbers.
Yeah.
Like that's rad. You know what I'm saying?
Barbers, tattooers, like it's Monster's a great company. I got nothing but positives to say.
Yeah.
And they've really, I mean, here's my Monster story. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
If you look at it, we used to have a can in here. It's not here right now. But Monster sponsored the Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And as a touring band, we got water from them. They came up with the Monster Tour water. And that was what everybody drank. It was the easiest way for them to give all the bands and everybody backstage water. And they looked like a Monster can. It had the green M or the claw. And like there was one type of energy drink, the Monster green basic original drink, and then there was water. And it's cool. There's a tip to it. If you look at the can now, they took the artwork from Warped Tour 2007 that Oliver did for the Warped Tour, and one of their graphic designers they were able to spell tour water with Warped Tour, like to use Oliver's lettering. They were able to take that can and like tip their hat off to like Warped Tour. It's pretty cool. So if you look at that can, it's a hybrid of like artwork that Oliver did.
Which one is it?
Which what?
Is it the Monster Water? Is that what
Tour Water?
Tour
I don't
water.
know. I think they're selling it now.
Okay.
But yeah, it's called Tour. It's like Tour Water. But
I would think they would
water.
probably try to lean into it the same way that Liquid Death has kind of done well with that canned water.
I think Liquid Death. Well, I think they had to. That Monster was the original canned water.
Yeah.
They just didn't sell it. It was at their events. And so once Liquid Death came out and was selling water, they were like, we need to sell water. We were the first, you know.
Exactly. That's rad.
But some crazy Warped Tour. I got endless stories about Warped Tour and whatnot. But we can save that for another.
Yeah, when next time you come back home to especially Waxahachie, like you gotta get down into the studio, man. Like that's the spot.
I'll be there. I'm stoked. I'm not in Texas enough, so I think we'll make that trip quickly. I need to take my whole family there. So.
Hell yeah. Well, I guess man, for introductory podcast, we get a little, it's pretty good. A little therapy session, you know what I'm saying?
A little therapy, talk
a little social media wear out, burnout, if you will, and hopefully of course, I don't know how this is going to sound or look until we get into this, like the editing bay and stuff, but I think it's pretty cool. This place is fucking rad, man. Like I'd love to be in a place like this daily.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend on the way out here, my buddy Tyler from 805. I was like, I don't have any windows in my shop, so I don't know what the sky looks like all day long. And, sometimes I'll go in, it's like this, blue skies, and then I'll come out for lunch and it's about to be a storm, right? But I know that the next iteration of wherever I find myself in a career, I want to have more sunlight or openness to the outdoors.
And it inspires it.
Yeah, and I think that might not make a lot of sense to people, but when you're trapped in, I guess it's the same as being trapped in a cubicle all day. Like you just don't see the light, the sun, the weather, the outside, and I think it's starting to kind of wear me down some, I don't want to be at
vitamin D, bro.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, this is a change period, right? So you're trying to be I'm trying to be more open-minded to things and, try to find ways to kind of like keep some sun coming in and keep, connected to the outside. Because I would literally, the only time I'd go outside would be to go eat lunch. Yeah. And I would purposely,
work till dark.
Yeah, I'd purposely not bring lunch because I wanted to go sit down at Chipotle and see people and be, not necessarily talk to anybody, but just
get out,
be around people, I think it's good. But yeah, I appreciate you letting me come in here and do this. And the hang last summer, finally getting to meet you and everything was pretty dope. And we've been in contact since. So
cool. We got lots of mutual friends. I want to give a shout out to Ewas. Love him.
Yeah.
Good mutual friend of ours.
Milburn.
Oh, Jeff Milburn. Okay, I got so much to say about him. I love that dude.
Yeah, he's hard to nail down in Dallas, but he's an awesome dude, man. one of the sickest shops ever known to man.
The sickest shop, babe.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
It's
He
not.
just sent me a video. I don't know if he sent it to you, that somebody came and interviewed and did a rundown of like everything in his shop. It's like an hour and a half. You should watch it. It's worth
Definitely
it.
gotta check that out.
Totally cool. Jeff is king of cool in so many ways.
Yeah, he is. I try to keep my wife around him. I try to regulate
I
the
try
time.
to keep my wife around him.
Yeah, he's got too much swag and too much style, man. So
Yeah, he did.
I don't want my wife to get any ideas. So
I think you're safe.
all right, man.
You know, like I think Texas is great, and I you know, one thing we didn't touch on, but like I think Dallas and Los Angeles have a lot of energy back and forth, and a lot in the motorcycle community. I mean, people in California would probably like shoot me for saying this, but I think there's been a lot that has come out of Dallas and embedded in LA and gone back to Texas, and there's a lot of energy between the two cities. I mean, obviously there's a ZZ Top song, Dallas, Texas, Hollywood, but I think that energy is still there, and I think we should unlock that more. I think we should do more in the way of like collaborating, you know?
Yeah, 100%. Dude, Dallas is rad. I mean, I have a hard time, you know, sometimes I want to leave it. I want to go explore something new,
Leave
but
it. Go
it's
somewhere
just
else.
something.
Come back.
It's just something that being older now. It's like I know so much and so many people, and it's like I have access to so much that starting over in a new city, it just.
Yeah, you don't need to leave Waxahachie for good. You just need to go visit other places like you're doing.
Yeah,
Gives
that's
you an
kind of
appreciation for what you got.
That's the move, right? Just travel more.
Just travel.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Love it. Thank you.